Afternoon. I'm Dr. Madhumita Banerjee, and today we'll do Module 7 Approaches to International Compensation. Now, let's look at the objectives, learning objectives, to understand the principles and theories underlying international compensation practices, to develop proficiency in designing and implementing international compensation strategies, to gain knowledge of the key components of international compensation packages, to learn how to navigate the complexities of international compensation structures. So basically, we'll look at principles and theories, designing and implementation, key components, and navigating through the complexities. Let's look at the introduction. In an increasingly interconnected global economy, businesses are expanding their operations across borders, necessitating a strategic approach to managing compensation for the international workforce. We know that the companies, when they go global, all right, they have people working for them all over the world. It can be quite a challenge to look at their compensation. All right, so we're going to study about that. Approaches to international compensation have become a critical component of organizational strategy as companies seek to attract, retain, and motivate talent in diverse geographical locations while ensuring compliance with local regulations and market practices. So what we see here is the whatever compensation they are structuring for the employees, they have to keep the legalities in their mind. All right, and they have to ensure that the compensation and rewards is such that people are attracted and they can be retained through the compensation scheme. This will explore the multifaceted landscape of international compensation, examining the challenges, strategies, and emerging trends shaping compensation practices in a global context. So you have multifaceted landscape of international compensation. When we talk about multifaceted landscape of international compensation, what we are talking about basically is people from diverse cultures, all right, people of different regions. You are talking about different labor laws. You're talking about the legal and ethical issues. All right. So many things need to take into consideration when you are structuring the compensation. By delving into the complexities of international compensation, we can gain insights into how organizations can effectively manage compensation for their global workforce while balancing competitiveness, compliance, and employee satisfaction. Now, understand one thing, that this compensation part is the most important part. Now, there are two companies, they have the same job description, the same kind of designation, same profile, but I would rather go for the company which is paying me more. All right. Or even you'll find that people do steal others' employees by offering them more. So this competitiveness, the company has to really look into this market competition as well. The globalization of business has transformed the in traditional concept of compensation, requiring organizations to adopt a more nuanced and flexible approach to meet the needs of employees across diverse cultural, economic, and regulatory environments. Approaches to international compensation encompass a wide range of considerations, including currency fluctuations, cost of living differentials, tax implications, cultural preferences, all of which influence how organizations structure their compensation packages for employees working in different countries. All right. So what we are seeing here is nuanced and flexible approach. All right. When we talk about nuanced and flexible approach, we are talking about something that the company needs to feel about, understand. All right. They need to cater for something that is foreseen. All right. Something taking into consideration of the diverse cultural, economic, and regulatory environments like we discussed earlier. Then wide range of considerations including currency fluctuations. All right. Now currency fluctuations, we can say that, see, one country currency is less than the currency value of currency of the other country. So this difference has to be taken into consideration. The cost of living or standard of living of the other country has to be taken into consideration and compensated for the employee to exist there, right? He has to live there. So the company has to ensure that he is paying, the company is paying enough to that employee so that he can live in peace. Tax implications, then cultural preferences, so many things are there for the company to take into consideration when they are planning the compensation packages. The globalization of business has transformed the traditional concept of compensation, requiring organizations to adopt a more nuanced and flexible. Sorry, I think we've just finished this. One of the primary challenges in international compensation is achieving equity and consistency across geographically dispersed workforce while accommodating local variations in market conditions and cultural norms. Now, here let's take the example of the domestic scene for a while. All right, we have cities and B cities and C cities. A cities is your metropolitan cities. B cities are different, like Pune and all are considered B cities. All right, C cities would be even more less. Accordingly, the salary of these cities are there. Say, let's take for example Bangalore. So in Bangalore, you will have the pay scale will be much higher, all right, than in Pune. Okay, Bombay pay scales will be much higher than Pune. All right, so these scales are already set. Similarly, when you're talking about international compensation, certain scales will be there. Also, certain local currency values also need to be taken into consideration, along with local variations in market conditions. Okay, organizations must strike a balance between global consistency and local customization to ensure that compensation practices align with organizational objectives while resonating with employees in different regions. Right? So organizations have to strike a balance between the local organization and global requirement. Another key consideration in international compensation is ensuring competitiveness in the global talent market. As businesses compete for skilled workers on a global scale, compensation plays a crucial role in attracting and retaining top talent. Organizations must benchmark their compensation packages against industry standards and local market practices to remain competitive and avoid talent shortages. So you can see the kind of challenge that the HR department, international HR department faces. They will have to retain talent, they will have to acquire proper talent for the jobs, and the compensation will play a very, very crucial role. All right, you need to attract and retain top talent, especially people at management level. If you really want good people, then you really, really have to offer them the correct package as per the market. Furthermore, compliance with local regulations and legal requirements presents a significant challenge in international compensation. Each country has its own labor laws, tax regulations, reporting requirements, which can vary widely and pose compliance risks for organizations operating across borders. Navigating these complexities requires a comprehensive understanding of local regulations and proactive risk management strategies to avoid legal pitfalls and financial penalties. So now this is pretty self-explanatory. We can see that one needs to follow the labor laws of the local government. All right. So it is very important that the compensation structure is based on labor laws, tax regulations, etc. All right. Navigating these complexities requires a comprehensive understanding of the global requirements. All right, so someone has to sit there and do a market survey and find out exactly what are the requirements of the compensation, how much are other companies paying for the same kind of job, and take the best practices. Anytime when the company is trying to follow best practices and trying to retain and or attract top talent, they are also trying to keep the objectives of the company in view. At the end of everything, the company should benefit. Keep that in mind. In addition to regulatory compliance, cultural factors also influence international compensation practices. Cultural preferences regarding compensation, benefits, work life balance can vary significantly from one country to another, requiring organizations to tailor their compensation packages to align with local expectations and norms. People getting money in compensation in India would be separate and in US would be separate of the same company. Why? Because the currency value of India is much lower than US. So if the company in India is sending a person abroad, they will have to compensate for the difference. All right. So there are so many other things that is there. So this compensation has to be looked into it really seriously. Failure to understand, accommodate cultural differences can lead to employee dissatisfaction and turnover, undermining the effectiveness of international compensation strategies. So we can see that the company really has to tailor make their compensation packages so that it is a win-win situation. Despite these, otherwise you won't have people moving abroad at all right, if I'm not getting anything extra when I go abroad, then it's not worth moving out. All right, so people also don't get motivated to go and work somewhere else if the compensation is not right. No employee would like to lose out on an individual basis for the company. Let's be very realistic. All right, so this compensation part has to be looked into very seriously by the company. Despite these challenges, international compensation also presents opportunities for organizations to differentiate themselves as employers of choice in the global marketplace. Now, what we see, one is the compensation money part of it, but compensation is not only dealing with the money part of it, it is also dealing with non-financial aspect of it, like housing, car facilities, education for the children, medical, etc. All right. You might get vouchers wherein you have to use those vouchers for your food, or you're supposed to mandatorily use it for your um, gymming facility or your yoga facility. The company ensures that their employees are well taken care of, or some club facility. All right. So these kind of things are also given as part of compensation. All right. That was as an aside. Despite these challenges, international compensation also presents opportunities for organizations to differentiate themselves as employers of choice in the global marketplace. By adopting innovative approaches to compensation, such as flexible work arrangements, performance based incentives, employee development programs, organizations can attract and retain top talent while fostering a culture of engagement and high performance. So you find that the company is really looking after you by giving you the correct type of compensation. Plus, my every need is taken care of. My children will get education. Yes, the company is affiliated to certain educational institutes out there, so I get admission easily through the company, so I'm not really worried. Paternity, maternity leave is there. Then you have bond. You might have to sign a bond, or the company might give you shares. All right. In case of British Petroleum, initially they were giving shares to to their employees. All right. So they have different ways of trying to attract and retain. So it's not only financial but also non-financial ways that the company tries to compensate. So if you really see on ground, the cost to company per employee is quite high. So they do expect high performance from their employees. Approaches to international compensation are a critical aspect of global talent management, requiring organizations to navigate a complex landscape of regulatory, economic, cultural factors. By understanding the challenges and opportunities inherent in international compensation, organizations can develop strategic compensation practices that support their business objectives, mitigate risks, and drive success in an increasingly competitive goal or sorry, a global economy. All right. So we have regulatory, economic, and cultural factors. The company has to look at this and navigate through these. We've already discussed this part. Meaning, approaches to international compensation refer to the strategies, methods, frameworks employed by organizations to structure, manage compensation for employees working across different countries and regions. All right. So basically, international compensation is employing different strategies, methods, and they have a framework within which they will work and structure the entire compensation package. They will probably have grades, they will have levels, right? So either you are in H grade, or you're in G grade, or you're in F grade. So people in G grade will get the same, similar kind of, say, 35 to 40 lakhs. All right. So all employees in G grade will get between 35 to 40 lakhs. All right. Plus this, plus this, plus this, plus this, plus this. So this kind of structuring is required by the company to be done, at the same time keeping in view of the economy or market fluctuations. These approaches encompass a range of considerations, including currency fluctuations, cost of living, variances, tax implications, regulatory compliance, cultural preferences. So you really see that the compensation for employees working out these things is really very challenging, very complex, very interesting. All right, very interesting. And the company is trying to retain their employees, trying to give a competitive salary so that they don't leave and go away. Plus they are also having all these programs and workshops and trainings, etc., so that the employee is much more happy and has proper information and is able to work smoothly. In essence, approaches to international compensation involve designing and implementing compensation packages that are competitive, equitable, and compliant with local regulations while aligning with organizational objectives and employee needs. These approaches aim to attract, retain, motivate talent in diverse geographical locations while ensuring fairness, consistency, and effectiveness in compensation practices across borders. Let's take the example of Accenture. Accenture in Pune, Accenture in Bangalore, Accenture in USA. All right, the compensation of Accenture in USA will be much better. Why? Because I can't say really it's much better. Let's look at the currency value. Let's look at the standard of living. Let's look at the labor laws out there. Let's look at the, economic fluctuations. All right, uh, versus Indian Accentures. Sorry, Accentures based in India. All right. So we have all these competitive, equitable, compliant with local regulations while aligning with organizational objectives and employee needs. All right. These approaches aim to attract, retain, motivate talent in diverse geographical locations while ensuring fairness, consistency, and effectiveness in compensation practices across borders. So you can really can't help but admire these company HR departments, how they have to do survey, they have to do research, and they have to collect data, and they have to consistently form different kind of filtering methods, assessment process, and come to the compensation, right compensation package. It can't be so easy or simple, all right? But thanks to technical know-how, etc., we have a lot of information with us. So on your fingertips, you have the information. You can really adopt various approaches to come to the correct figure. Organizations may adopt various approaches to international compensation depending on factors such as their global footprint, industry, workforce demographics, business objectives. Now here we have global footprint is they are where all they are present, which all countries they are present. All right. Workforce demographics is nothing but who, which all nationalities are working there, and what is their culture, what is their expectation, what is the currency that they have been receiving at home. Having said that, all right, I'm repeating again, the compensation still would be zeroed in as per the objectives of the company. Company will not take a loss. Common approaches include global standardization. This approach involves applying a uniform compensation structure and policy framework across all global locations. It aims to achieve consistency, simplicity, and administrative efficiency in compensation management while ensuring equity and fairness for employees worldwide. So we have, while we are talking about international compensation, you have local compensation that will be decided, but at the same time, certain compensation will be absolutely universal. No matter where you work, you will get the same thing. It could be non-financial also, all right? The aim is to be fair to all employees, no matter where they are. Localization. In contrast to global standardization, the localization approach tailors compensation packages to meet the specific needs and preferences of employees in each country or region. It takes into account total market practice, market practices, cost of living differences, cultural norms, regulatory requirements to design compensation packages that are competitive and attractive to local talent. So we find that when we are talking about localization, it is best if I look at the local market. What is the competition here in India? Okay, in India, what is the market requirement? How is the economy? Accordingly, the compensation is given. All right, cost of living differences, like I told you, there is a the moment there is a difference in the currency, the company really has to look into this. If they are sending a person from a country of low cost to a country of high cost, that differential has to be looked into. Balance sheet approach. The balance sheet approach seeks to maintain employees' purchasing power, standard of living when relocating to a different country for work assignments. It involves providing additional allowances such as cost of living adjustments, housing subsidies, tax equalization benefits to ensure that employees' compensation remains comparable to their home country. All right, so we have the balance sheet approach is nothing but balancing the compensation so that the employee doesn't really suffer. Going rate approach, the base pay and benefits may be supplemented by additional payments for low pay countries. Market pricing involves benchmarking compensation packages against prevailing market rates and industry standards in each country or region. It aims to ensure that organizations remain competitive in the global talent market by offering salaries and benefits that are in line with local market conditions and industry norms. Now, here what we see market pricing is nothing but in the market, what are the other industries of similar similar businesses or services are offering. All right, you're taking the best practices, you're benchmarking yourself against some of the best companies in the market, and accordingly, you're arranging your compensation. Total rewards. Total rewards approaches take a holistic view of compensation, encompassing not only base salaries but also incentives, benefits, non monetary rewards such as career development approaches, work life balance initiatives, and recognition programs. These approaches aim to create a compelling value proposition for employees by offering a comprehensive package of rewards, benefits that meet their diverse needs and preferences. Now, total rewards is nothing but a holistic view of compensation. All right, it is not only including base salaries but other incentives, benefits, non monetary rewards. All right, so we have whole lot of things in play here. Buffet approach. Under buffet approach, MNCs provide less cash and more benefits and compensation package. Sometimes expatriates also prefer this method to reduce tax liability and save more so as to repatriate the savings. Cafeteria approach. The expatriate is paid the home country salary or the host country salary, whichever is higher. It allows employees to choose between the different types of benefits to formulate a plan on their own, similar to the ability of a customer to choose among available items in a cafeteria. So in the cafeteria approach, they're getting a choice, right? So whichever you want, it should work for you. All right, in the buffet approach, you have less cash and more benefits and compensation package so that the tax can be taken care of. Overall approaches to international compensation are essential for organizations operating in a globalized economy as they enable organizations to effectively manage compensation for a diverse workforce while navigating the complexities of cross border employment. So we can see that overall approaches, whatever approaches that the company takes in the form of international compensation, they will have to take care of the cross border differences. By adopting strategic approaches to international compensation, organizations can attract and retain top talent, drive employee engagement and performance, and achieve their business objectives in an increasingly competitive global market. So you have the company giving you different kinds of compensations. They have planned whole lot of different types of structures, and they are ensuring that situation based compensations are given to the employees and the employees can live in peace. At the end of the day, the employee should benefit something, right, for his hard work also. Approaches to less definition. Approaches to international compensation refers to the various strategies, methodologies, frameworks used by organizations to design, structure, manage compensation packages for employees working in different countries or regions around the world. These approaches aim to ensure that employees receive fair, competitive, and equitable compensation that aligns with both organizational objectives and local market conditions, regulatory requirements, and cultural norms. This is something we have already discussed. In essence, approaches to international compensations involve the systematic consideration of factors such as currency fluctuations, cost of living differentials, tax implications, legal compliance, cultural preferences to determine appropriate compensation levels and components of employees based in diverse geographical locations. These approaches may vary depending on the organization's global footprint, industry sector, workforce, demographics, and strategic goals. So there's much more, there is much more. There are different, this is not just this much. There are nuances, which the company has to foresee. All right, apart from the financial, non-financial benefits, there are other things that the company really, really has to foresee and cater for it. All right. The role of approaches to international compensation is pivotal in ensuring that organizations effectively manage compensation for the global workforce while navigating the complexities of operating in diverse geographical locations. These approaches play several critical roles: attracting and retaining talent. We've just discussed this. Approaches to international compensation help organizations attract and retain top talent by offering them competitive and attractive compensation packages that align with local market conditions and industry standards. By providing fair and competitive compensation, organizations can attract skilled employees from around the world and retain them in the long term. So what we find is that the company is giving you competitive rates. All right, they're meeting the competition. They're ensuring that you benefit by being in this company rather than the other company. All right, so the parent company ensures that they don't lose out on highly skilled talent. Ensuring equity and fairness. International compensation approaches aim to ensure equity and fairness in compensation practices across different countries and regions by considering factors such as cost of living variations, currency fluctuations, and local market practices. Organizations can design compensation packages that are equitable and reflective of employees' contributions, regardless of their geographical location. So you have a uniform structure that has been offered to all, and then you have the local market um, scheme wherein they are looking at what is required in the region. All right, so that it is equitable and fair. Managing compliance and legal risks. Approaches to international compensation help organizations navigate the complex landscape of regulatory requirements, tax regulations, legal frameworks in different countries. By ensuring compliance with local labor laws, tax regulations, reporting requirements, organizations can mitigate legal risks, avoid penalties associated with non-compliance. Let's say, for example, the company is set up in a uh, co- particular region. The company has to negotiate with the local police. They will have to negotiate with the local authorities and ensure that everything is in order. They cannot avoid the local rules and regulations and laws. Any regulatory body that is there, they have to ensure that they are in the know-how of what all regulatory bodies have put across and adhere to it. Supporting global mobility and expatriate assignments, international compensation approaches play a crucial role in supporting global mobility initiatives and expatriate assignments. By adopting strategies such as the balance sheet approach or localization, organizations can provide employees with the necessary financial incentives, benefits to support their relocation, adjustment to new country or region. So if an employee is going abroad, his relocation amount, his joining bonus, he'll get a joining bonus so that it helps him to settle down in the company. Then he'll get relocation amount. All right, whatever he's sending, the company will take care of that. Then he will get other non-financial benefits like help with the housing. All right, selecting a house there. Then he will get schooling for the children, help from the company. Then he'll get gymming facility, yoga facility. You have something called I'm forgetting the name. They give you a lot of things. Then they give you some risk, a budget for risk covering. All right, when you're shifting, you might they are trying the company is trying to ensure that in case something happens, you're covered in that. All right, you will not lose out. Okay, so there are so many amounts just given to the employees so that the employee is completely financially taken care of, financially as well as non-financially, right? So that is how they help the expatriate assignments. Promoting consistency and standardization, international compensation approaches help organizations achieve consistency and standardization in compensation practices across different countries and regions. By implementing global compensation frameworks and policies, organizations can ensure uniformity in compensation structures, administration while accommodating local variations in market conditions and cultural preferences. All right, so you have promoting consistency and standardization. So international compensation practices have to be structured in such a fashion that it is in some frame, it will work within a framework and it is standardized across the company, no matter where the employee is operating from. All right, so there is also consistency. Overall, the role of approaches to international compensation is to enable organizations to effectively manage compensation for the global workforce in a way that is fair, competitive, compliant, supportive of organizational goals and objectives. By adopting strategic approaches to international compensation, organizations can attract, retain, motivate talent from diverse backgrounds, drive employee engagement, satisfaction, and achieve success in a globalized marketplace. So what we are seeing here is international compensation is extremely holistic, very well structured. It's really taking care of the employee from all fronts and ensuring that the employee is absolutely comfortable going to another country and settling down and working for them. Importance. The importance of approaches to international compensation cannot be overstated in today's globalized business environment. Some key reasons are attracting, retaining global talent. All right, it is very important. Okay, international compensation approaches are crucial for attracting, retaining top talent from around the world. By doing so, competitive and attractive compensation packages, organizations can differentiate themselves as employers of choice in the global talent market and attract skilled professionals who are in high demand. All right, so if let's say BP or KPMG or Accenture, they want to attract good, really good, talented, highly qualified people as employees, they will have to give a very, very competitive compensation. All these companies are international. Ensuring equity and fairness, we've already gone through this, but let's go through this. Approaches to international compensation help organizations ensure equity and fairness in compensation practices across diverse geographical locations. Cost of living variations, currency fluctuations, local market conditions, then they can design compensation packages that are equitable and reflective of employees' contribution regardless of their location. The company always tries to be very equitable and fair to all the employees. See, if it is not equitable and it is not fair, I don't think people will stick around. That feeling of being, unfairly treated or not given enough importance or not being compensated in a sufficient way, you might you might lose the employee. Managing complexity and compliance. International compensation approaches are essential for managing the complexity of compensation practices in different countries and regions. They help organizations navigate diverse regulatory requirements, tax regulations, legal frameworks, ensuring compliance with local laws, regulations to mitigate legal risks and avoid penalties associated with non-compliance. Now, if a company goes and sets up its base and not try to, adhere to what the local laws or regulations about labor laws are there, the company is not going to exist there for very long. Supporting global mobility and expatriate assignments, I think we've already gone through. They help the expatriate to relocate and set up base. Promoting consistency and standardization, we have just finished discussing. Driving employee engagement and satisfaction. Effective international compensation approaches contribute to higher levels of employee engagement and satisfaction. When employees feel fairly compensated for their work and rewarded according to their contribution, they are not likely to be motivated. They are more likely to be motivated, committed, and engaged in their roles, leading to improved performance and organizational success. Now, if say I am an employee and I'm going abroad, and Accenture is looking after my housing, looking after my relocation, looking after in case of God forbid any problem happens, I have enough cash with me to take care of that. All right, then you have my salary. I have a nice fat salary, all right, which has nothing to do with anything else, all right, it's over and above. Okay, so I'm very happy, I'm motivated, I am given proper training, proper programs, I'm in the know-how of what my work entails. I'm very clear, the company has ensured that I'm very clear what exactly I need to do after going there. My instructions are very clear. All right. I'm a very, very happy employee. I don't think I will want to look for another job anytime soon. Enhancing organizational performance and competitiveness. Ultimately, the importance of international compensation approaches lies in the ability to enhance organizational performance and competitiveness in the global marketplace. By attracting and retaining top talent, ensuring compliance with local regulations, and promoting consistency, fairness in compensation practices, organizations can strengthen their positions and achieve success in highly competitive, dynamic business environment. Now, what is the objective of having this international um, compensation rewards or compensation approaches in place? The company is making itself even more strong. It is giving even more strong presence in the market. It is helping itself by keep making a brand for itself, by keeping excellent employee for itself. It is keep making sure that people will talk about the company in a good vein. Variables influencing international compensation strategy. Goal orientation. For example, UK-based foam manufacturer Zote Foam, where equality is a key aspect of HRM in the company's mission. The only perks that differentiate executives from other workers are private health insurance and a car allowance. MD of the firm sees the internationalizing firm as one with minimal status differences between levels in the organization hierarchy. Capacity to pay, cost constraints on the enterprise, competitive strategy. Now you have these variables which will influence the international compensation strategy. Okay, capacity to pay, constant constraints on the enterprise, and competitive strategy. For example, as part of the MNC competitive strategy, the IHRM strategy is to be a market leader in employee compensation in order to compete for the most competent candidates. Then the levels of compensation might well be higher than the competitive strategy is based on, say, the provision of secure employment. All right. So they will have different levels of compensation, which will be based on different levels and grades, like we discussed earlier. Organization culture, it also influences the degree to which employees are compensated on the basis of seniority, in contrast to personal connections or performance. Workforce channels, age, educational level, qualification, experience, along with workforce taste, then preferences, labor relations, factors such as nature of employment relationship will result in different international compensation approaches. Now we have so many variables that will impact the structure: age, experience, exposure, etc., labor laws, market uh, fluctuations, external variables influencing international compensation strategy. In terms of culturally uh, determined values and attitudes towards compensation policy, practices, local culture influences international compensation strategy through the dominant societal values, norms, attitudes, beliefs concerning, for example, basis for compensation differences, performance, family connections, gender, degrees of compensation, differences between managerial, non-managerial employees, and the propensity for using particular type of compensation, pay incentive, and benefits. What we find here is when the company is working, the societal norms will have a direct impact. All right, the company has to look into this. All right, so you have dominant societal values. All right, then you have gender, then degrees of compensation differences between managerial and non-managerial. People who are in the management will be paid separate, and the blue collars will be paid lower. Labor market channels of supply and demand. All right, education, skill levels, age, experience of those in the labor market, role of home and host country government in labor relations, affect the level of government regulation of the labor market and employment relationship, including compensation of the workforce. So what we find is there has to be a supply and demand. The company has to look into the supply and demand of a particular grade. All right, how many engineers do I require? Do I have that kind of those kind of engineers, or do I have to get somebody from USA, or do I have to get this skill from Germany? All right, so supply and demand will impact educational skill levels, age, etc. That will also impact role of home and host country governments. What is the labor laws, relations, etc. That will impact. All right, so we can see that there are a whole lot of things that are in play. All right, all these variables will impact. Industry type, internal variables influencing international compensation strategy. Industry type, evidence from two global industry. For example, scientific measuring and medical instruments suggest that MNC competing in a global industry may be more likely to allocate rewards based on corporate and regional performance rather than on subsidiary performance, as favored by MNCs competing in a multi-domestic industry. All right, so you have scientific measuring and medical instruments. They are, what are they saying? MNC competing in global industry may be more likely to allocate rewards based on corporate and regional performance rather than on subsidiary performance. Different industry sectors also have different norms and practices for international compensation. Like, for example, service sector, high technology MNCs have been more likely than manufacturers to incorporate equity based options in the international compensation strategies. So, basically, in layman's language, we have IT, non IT, service sector, hospitality. So, it depends which industry you are with, and accordingly, the compensation strategy will differ. Competitors' strategies, all right, then even if the MNC is not seeking to be a market leader in international compensation, it generally cannot afford to fall behind market rates across its locations, as it will risk losing valuable employees to competitors. So you can imagine the kind of challenge the MNC company is facing. It has to keep abreast. It's not as though I've given the salaries and I can sit back. No, it has to keep abreast with the market keep abreast with the market competitiveness, all right, to retain its valuable employees. Compensation of international staff transfers. Expatriate compensation comprises various allowances for international relocation, and some common allowances are foreign service premiums, most common for employees on long term assignments over 1 year, as an incentive to take the assignment, more often paid to PCNs than to TCNs. All right. Hardship in consideration of isolation, crime, natural hazards, political violence based on government data upon which rates can be provided by consulting organizations such as International SOS, a global medical security assistance company. So the company is really looking, see, hardship in consideration of isolation. All right. Let's take a company which is based very far away from the local market, away from everything. So the company will compensate, look into it. Crime, a region which is having a lot of crime, all right, people don't want to go to such places. There, the company might have to give extra compensation to attract talent. Natural hazards, all right, political violence, etc. So these are some places where people don't want to go, and therefore the company has to come up with plans which will attract a good talent. Relocation compensation for costs such as transport, storage, temporary accommodation, purchases of appliances and vehicles associated with moving to the host country. Like I told you earlier, when you are moving to another country, the compensation is made in such a way that you have the relocation compensation not only of transport, you have for storage, then temporary accommodation, then even purchasing of appliances, vehicles. Even they give you money for buying new furniture, or they give you money for you don't like it, I want to change the color of this wall, I can change it at the company cost. All right, so all these things are given. Lot of non-financial benefits are there also. Education for assignees' children, home leave provision for the assignee, family to return home periodically during the length of the assignment. So the person has gone abroad for 1 year, say. All right, and in between they want to return for a holiday, say 1 month holiday, they want to come back home. So that will be taken care of by the company. Basis for expatriate compensation is maintaining relations with parent country national colleagues, preserving parity of purchasing power, ensuring that the expatriate maintains the same standard of living that he or she enjoyed at home. This has been most commonly achieved through applying the balance sheet approach. All right, so ensuring in layman's term, it is ensuring that the employee doesn't suffer if he's going abroad and he's not short of finances. BSA, most common system of choice among MNCs, comprises the payment of base salary consistent with home country rates plus cost of living, housing allowances reflecting home country standards, and provision of tax equalization or tax protection, and a reserve of, say, savings, social security, and investments. So many things the company has to look into if they are coming up with expatriate assignments. Regional approach attempts to capitalize on apparent similarities in culture, compensation, and taxes, for example, by adopting the same compensation for all countries within a particular region. All right. So we find that they are adopting the same compensation in a particular region. MNCs are beginning to view the 11 countries they have adopted the euro or the eurozone as a region for compensation structures. Example, Portal Software Europe has equalized car allowances and some other benefits for employees in 8 of their 11 eurozone bases. Right? Other benefits, let's look at the benefits: pension plans, medical coverage, social security benefits, vacations, and special leave, then rest and rehabilitation leave, emergency provisions. And let's look at some of the challenges. Pension plans are very difficult to deal with country to country. Transportability of benefits is difficult to normalize. Laws governing private benefits practices differ from country to country. Firm practices vary from each other. So basically, every country has its own rules and regulations, and the company has to look into it individually, right? While having some structures uniform. Let's look at the summary. International compensation management is an important part of international human resource management. To attract, retain competent talent, companies offer lucrative and competitive compensation packages to the employees, particularly expatriates who are placed in international locations. There are various factors, internal and external, which affect compensation packages offered by different countries, like the strategic goals and objectives, organizational culture, competitors' policies, economic, cultural, social conditions in host country. So we find that international compensation management is very, very important. All right. It has to be placed in such a way that it will attract and retain top talent. All right. The packages have to be such that, employees will not want to leave the company at all. All right. And it has to ensure that the packages compensation offered to their expatriates also will take care of them. MNCs also determine their compensation packages on the basis of various approaches available to them, like localization approach, bargaining approach, buffet approach, lump sum approach, global approach, cluster approach, performance based approach, balance sheet approach. MNCs of various countries follow different approaches for managing international compensation. All right, I've given you some links. Just go through that and you will find more information about it. With this, I finish module 7. We'll take a 5 minutes break and start again. Let us start. Repatriation, Module 8, learning objectives, to understand repatriation challenges, to understand developing repatriation strategies, to understand enhancing organizational support, to understand managing talent retention, to understand evaluating repatriation programs. Let's look at the introduction. International human resource management is crucial aspect of managing human resources in organizations that operate across national borders. All right, we've discussed this. It encompasses a wide range of activities and processes aimed at effectively managing the diverse workforce of multinational companies. One of the critical challenges faced by international organizations is the repatriation of expatriate employees following their overseas assignments. Now, repatriation is nothing but people coming back from abroad and how they are compensated. Repatriation refers to the process of returning expatriate employees to their home country after completing an international assignment. While repatriation is often perceived as the final stage of the expatriation cycle, it presents unique challenges and complexities that require careful attention and planning. The repatriation process is often fraught with difficulties, including reverse culture shock, career dissatisfaction, challenges, or reintegrating into home organization. In layman's term, when I am abroad, I've done 1 year or 1 or 2 years or 7 years or 8 years. I've stayed in that country. The longer you stay abroad, it becomes very difficult for the person to come back into the country and restart from the beginning. All right, there is a huge cultural shock in the sense that the person might have got very used to the culture abroad and is finding it very difficult to readjust to the home country. All right, so there are so many other challenges. The way they are working, you get used to working with those people in a different manner, but once you come back home, you find that you're not able to adjust anymore. All right, so this repatriation process is often very difficult. This introduction will explore the intricacies of repatriation within the context of international human resource management, highlighting its significance, challenges, strategies for successful implementation. By understanding the complexities of repatriation, organizations can develop effective strategies to support expatriates during their transition back to their home country and maximize the benefits of the international assignments. First of all, people when they go abroad, some of them want to come back immediately because they cannot adjust to the cultural or the societal norms out there, and some of them just don't want to come back. So that is a mind thing, a mental thing that needs to be readjusted. That is something the company understands and tries to look into. It is a real challenge. Repatriation plays a crucial role in the overall success of international assignments and the long-term retention of talent within organizations. See, why they are talking about long-term retention is once the person has come back to the company, kind of dissatisfaction sets in and you don't want to continue working with the company, and then you put up your papers and walk away. To stop this thing, the company has to put something in place. Despite its importance, repatriation is often overlooked or underemphasized in the expatriation process, leading to high levels of repatriation turnover and loss of valuable talent. Organizations must recognize the significance of repatriation and devote resources and attention to ensure a smooth and successful transition for the returning expatriates. So it is as simple as that. A person has spent certain time abroad, he's been working in that culture for quite some time, so he gets used to their way of life. All right, their way of working, their way of life, custom, culture, whatever you have. Once they come back to the home country, they are not able to adjust. Interestingly, the company has taken recognition of that. Additionally, returning expatriates may face challenges in reintegrating into the home organization, such as difficulties in resuming their previous roles or adjusting to changes in the organizational culture and structure. Now, unless the company gives them some importance or some valuable job role, they will be very disheartened or demotivated to work. To address these challenges, organizations must develop effective repatriation strategies that support expatriates during their transition back to their home country and facilitate their reintegration into the organization. These strategies may include providing career planning and development support, offering cross cultural training and coaching, and creating opportunities for knowledge sharing and networking with other repatriates. Furthermore, organizations must recognize the importance of ongoing communication and support for repatriates throughout the repatriation process. All right, so a lot of programs are in place, a lot of trainings are in place, a lot of career planning is in place so that they can be helped. By maintaining regular contact with returning expatriates and providing them with the necessary resources and support, organizations can help alleviate feelings of isolation and uncertainty and foster a sense of belonging and engagement among repatriates. So these feelings of isolation is very common because suddenly you're not able to get along with a lot of people. All right, you tend to isolate yourself because you're just not, it's not that you're becoming very negative, it's just something that is happening to you. All right, so people coming back to the country, they do expect some importance, they do expect some kind of a excellent job role, or they do expect that their knowledge out there can be shared with others so that people going there, uh, the other country, can be helped. All right, so many things the company can help to give that importance, much required importance to the repatriates. Repatriation is a multifaceted concept that encompasses the return of individuals or groups to their home country or place of citizenship, whether voluntary or involuntary. Diplomacy, repatriation plays a crucial role in various contexts, including migration, diplomacy, humanitarian affairs. This comprehensive exploration aims to delve into the definition, meaning, process, role, and conclusion of repatriation, shedding light on its significance and complexities. So it is complex, it is more of mind setting. International human resource management with a focus on repatriation refers to the strategic management of human resources within multinational organizations, specifically addressing the process of bringing expatriate employees back to their home country after completing assignments abroad. So we can see that international human resource is sending people to this country, that country, and everywhere. Compensation is also given accordingly, but here we are dealing with more with the motivation level, with the um, more with the mind level. All right, so the company is following certain strategic uh, recourse. In this context, IHRM involves the coordination, planning, implementation of strategies to effectively manage the repatriation process, ensuring a smooth transition. Now we have these component which they have activities such as reverse culture shock management. career reintegration, support and organizational adjustment to ensure the successful reintegration of expatriates into the home country workforce. So probably the company can have a training program or can have a program wherein these people are made to go through and make them understand certain things so that it helps them with the culture shock. Overall, international human resource management with a focus on repatriations aims to optimize the utilization of international talent, enhance organizational effectiveness, and maintain employee engagement and satisfaction throughout the repatriation process. It involves understanding and addressing the unique challenges and opportunities associated with repatriation to leverage the full potential of the organization's global workforce. So we can see that the company really has a challenge maintaining employee engagement and satisfaction. It's such a thing, it's not money, it is not compensation. The person is mentally unhappy, mentally not able to adjust to the home country working atmosphere. All right, so the company has to take up certain activities so that it will help them to retain them. They might just resign and leave. All right, just look at the definition. International human resource management with a focus on repatriation involves planning, coordination, execution of strategies, processes to effectively manage the return of expatriate employees to their home country after completing an overseas assignment. It encompasses a range of activities aimed at supporting expatriates during the transition back to their home organization and facilitating their reintegration into the domestic workforce. It is simple. People are returning, and the company is ensuring that they get back into the normal process back home. Repatriation as a component of IHRM involves addressing the unique challenges, complexities associated with the return of expatriate employees, including reverse culture shock, career re-entry issues, organizational reintegration. It requires careful planning and coordination to ensure smooth, successful transition for returning expatriates while maximizing the retention of talent knowledge within the organization. We have discussed it just now. Let's look at the essence. They have a focus on repatriation involving developing, implementing strategies, policies, practices. They're supporting the expatriates to get back into the day-to-day function. It aims to mitigate the challenges and risks associated with repatriation. What is the risk? That they will leave and you will lose out on very good talent while capitalizing on the opportunities for organizational learning and growth that arise from international assignments. Now, here the companies can give them very important assignments, can give them important designations to retain these people, but sometimes it is not possible because the vacancy is not there. Repatriation refers to the process of returning individuals or groups to their country of origin or citizenship. The term derives from the Latin word repatriare, which means to return to one's country, while commonly associated with migration. Repatriation extends beyond voluntary returns to encompass diplomatic missions, humanitarian evacuations, and the resettlement of refugees. So it is just talking about repatriation in other connotations as well. Repatriation in a company is different. Repatriation in other connotations, diplomatic missions, humanitarian evacuations, resettlement of refugees. The meaning of repatriation varies depending on the context in which it is employed. In the realm of migration, it signifies the return of migrants to their homeland after a period of residence in a foreign land. This could result from the completion of a work contract, deportation, and personal choice. Diplomatic repatriation involves the evacuation of diplomats or citizens from foreign territories during crises, conflicts, or emergencies. Humanitarian repatriation pertains to the organized return of refugees, displaced persons, vulnerable populations to safer environments, often facilitated by international organizations and aid agencies. So we have diplomatic repatriation wherein diplomats are evacuated because of crisis. Process. The process of repatriation encompasses various stages and involves multiple stakeholders. Many people are involved in this at different levels, each playing distinct roles to ensure a safe and orderly return. While the specifics may vary depending on the circumstances, a general outline of the repatriation process includes the following steps: assessment and planning. Identify the individuals or groups requiring repatriation. Assess the reasons for repatriation, like, for example, end of work contract, conflict, natural disaster. Determine logistical, legal, and financial considerations. Develop a repatriation plan outlining objectives, timelines, and resources needed. So, your assessment and planning has to be, that means repatriation is situation based. All right. Accordingly, you will require logistical infrastructure help. Coordination and communication. Establish communication channels with relevant authorities, organizations, and stakeholders. Coordinate with governmental agencies, embassies, consulates. Provide information and guidance to individuals or groups undergoing repatriation. Address any concerns or queries regarding the repatriation process. So you have coordination and communication wherein you have to inform as to exactly what they are supposed to do, what documents they are supposed to carry, where are they supposed to go, submit what, all right. Coordinate with governmental agencies and embassies, consulates, then they have to give proper information to the groups or the individual. Documentation and legal procedures. Ensure that all necessary travel documents, passports, visas, and permits are in order. Facilitate the processing of paperwork, including exit permits, clearance from immigration authorities. Verify the legal status or rights of individuals being repatriated, especially in case involving refugees or asylum seekers. All right. So you have documentation and legal procedures that need to be taken care of in the form of travel documents, passport, visas, all the paperwork that needs to be done. Transportation and logistics. Arrange transportation for individuals or groups from their current location to the destination country. Coordinate with airlines, transportation providers, border authorities. Address logistical challenges such as accommodation, luggage, medical needs during transit. So there are so many logistics that needs to be looked into. Reception and integration. Welcome individuals or groups upon arrival in their home country. Provide assistance with resettlement, housing, employment, other essential services. Facilitate integration into local communities and support networks. Offers psychosocial support and counseling for individuals experiencing trauma or displacement. Now, understand one thing, when we are talking about repatriation in a company, same thing might apply in case of a crisis or an emergency. The situation under which the employee is being repatriated to the home country will make a lot of difference on the infrastructural requirement or the logistical part of it. All right. Role. Repatriation involves the participation of various actors, such as contributing to different aspects of the process. Key stakeholders and their roles in repatriation include governmental authorities, develop policies, regulations governing repatriation, coordinate with foreign governments and international organizations, provide consular assistance and support to citizens abroad, ensure the safety, security, welfare of repatriated individuals. So we can see there's key stakeholders. All right, you have government agencies, you have regulation bodies, you have consulates, embassies, etc. International organizations offer humanitarian aid, funding, logistical support for repatriation efforts, facilitate coordination between governments, NGOs, and other stakeholders, provide expertise in resettlement, legal assistance, and capacity building. So you are not only tying up with your governmental bodies, you're also tying up with other international organizations. Non-governmental organizations, NGOs, deliver humanitarian assistance, include food, shelter, medical aid, offer protection, advocacy for vulnerable populations such as refugees, displaced persons, provide social, psychosocial support, counseling, community-based services. So the kind of negotiations, the kind of communication that needs to be taken into consideration depending on the situation. Diplomatic missions assist citizens abroad in need of repatriation, coordinate with host governments and local authorities, provide consular services including passport issuance, emergency travel documents, evacuation assistance. All right, in case of crisis, all these need to be taken into consideration. So you have so many different bodies involved here, so many different levels involved, and one needs to keep in mind the situation under which the person has been repatriated. Community and civil society mobilize resources, volunteers, support networks for repatriate individuals, promote social cohesion, tolerance, integration within host communities, advocate for the rights and dignity of repatriates populations, including access to education, healthcare, and livelihood opportunities. So you're also tying up with volunteers. All right, there are people who volunteer to help out also in case of an emergency. If you're taking repatriation in case of a company, the company will have to tie up with the government agency. The company will have to look into the transportation. Company will have to look into the travel documents. Company will have to look into your medical. Company will have to ensure your safety, etc. So all these things have certain levels, situations, and a lot of paperwork. Let's look at the summary. Repatriation is a critical aspect of international human resource management that requires careful attention planning to ensure successful outcomes for both expatriates and organizations. By understanding the challenges and complexities of repatriation and implementing effective strategies to support returning expatriates, organizations can maximize the benefits of international assignments and retain valuable talent within the organization. See, by understanding the challenges and complexities of repatriation, once the company has understood that these things can take place, any planning that is done is a long term plan. All right. They foresee a lot of things. All right. Based on that, the planning is made, the documents are prepared, every arrangement is made and kept in place. Then only the company also can rest easy. It is not just here and now. Repatriation is a complex, multifaceted process that involves the return of individuals or groups to their home country or place of citizenship. Whether driven by migration, diplomacy, or humanitarian concerns, repatriation requires careful planning, coordination, collaboration among various stakeholders. While it can offer a sense of closure, safety, and belonging to those returning home, repatriation also presents challenges including legal, logistical, and socio-economic barriers. There are plenty of barriers which the company has to look into. Despite these challenges, repatriation remains an essential mechanism for addressing migration, displacement, and humanitarian crisis worldwide. By upholding the principles of human rights, dignity, and solidarity, stakeholders can work together to ensure that repatriation processes are conducted in a humane, respectful, and inclusive manner. Through concerted efforts and collective action, repatriation can contribute to the reintegration, stability, well-being of individuals, communities affected by displacement, conflict, and adversity. So you find that there are a lot of challenges, a lot of stakeholders, you have a lot of situations, but the human dignity has to be maintained at all costs, right? With that, I've given you a link. Just go through the link, you will get some more understanding. With this, I come to the end of module 8. We'll stop now. Thank you.